Browns fans, it's been a minute, but we're back. Spencer German, Anthony Moeglin with you as we break down all things Cleveland Browns with you here with Cleveland Browns on SI. A lot of stuff to get into, including our reactions to rookie minicamp. I was out there at least one of the days. What our expectations are kind of moving forward. We got the offseason, the OTAs obviously beginning for the team. We got better minicamp right around the corner. And much, much more as there's been some roster moves this past week. And, of course, we got the big schedule release coming down the pike here on Wednesday. So a lot of good stuff to get to. Anthony, how you been, my man? Are you getting ready for football? Because it feels like it's like right around the corner.
It's so funny, brother. Like I was just about to say, like I was just going to ask you how good it felt to be back on the grounds. The footballs were flying. Like that was the coolest part about last week was that balls were in the air. We had clips of real football, and that was really unique, right? When you see this rookie minicamp stuff, we'll obviously get into it in a little bit, but the Browns had a full team there, 56 players. They had a full offense, full defense. They were going. It looked like real football. It had to be pretty nice to be back there watching the Browns.
I would say it's like bittersweet because part of me is like, oh man, football is just like you can smell it, right? Like we're going to be in the summer. And then once we get to the summer, it starts up at the end of July there and into August, and we all start revving up for the regular season, which I love football season, so I'm very excited about that. But it's also the bitter part of it, I think, is the realization that like more of my like day-to-day where I'm more downtime and can just kind of work from home and don't have to worry about all that all the time and can get some things done around the house also goes away. So
days are gone, brother.
It's kind of the realization that time is ticking and we don't have a lot of these types of days left. So we'll see. But along those lines, in terms of news that's come down and stuff that we've had to cover, I think the most notable thing before we get into rookie minicamp reactions and notes, the most notable thing to come out of this week that we had to, pounce on and get stories up about was JOK, the announcement that he will not be playing in 2025, being placed on the reserve/PUP list. And I don't like this was interesting news, Megs, because I don't know that it was like stunning. Like it wasn't anything that people saw and they were like, oh no, like we all kind of thought this could be what happens, right? We've kind of known this about JOK's situation for a while now, but it also was, I think, a little bit sobering, especially there was one particular line of JOK's message where he mentioned, I don't know what's next, but I, want to continue to give back to the community, my team, blah, blah, blah. Like I forget the exact wording, but he was talking about like still trying to give back to football in some way, even though he doesn't know what the future holds. And I think that is kind of the sobering part of all this is like, we all knew this could be the thing, but hearing it out loud when the Browns have been very mum on it was kind of, interesting. So yeah, I don't know what the future holds for JOK. He clearly doesn't either, but we know he won't be on the field in 2025.
It sucks. And you just feel so bad for him, right? From a football perspective, he was on trajectory to be one of the best linebackers in football, and he probably was up there. Just an unbelievable player, unbelievable talent. The positive to it is that the person JOK is okay, right? Yeah. He's not paralyzed. He's able to walk and do all the things, and it kind of reminds you of Ryan Shazier in Pittsburgh a little bit, where Shazier actually like was paralyzed for a little bit and had to like work his way back. And I don't know exactly how much usage he has of his body, but it looks, he walks around and he can do all the things, but it looks like for JOK dodges the severity of that. But if he has to sacrifice football in the long run, which it kind of feels like, it's like, all right, we're going to sit this year out and then we'll see. That doesn't incite much confidence about the football part of it going forward.
Well, and he seems like somebody who's already kind of come to terms with the fact that might be his reality. I'll say this, like one of the, I think, best qualities about JOK, and there's a lot of good ones because he's just a very thoughtful person in general, but he keeps things very much in perspective. And so I'm going to guess that we haven't talked to him since the injury, so I don't know like his true thoughts on every little thing. But I'm guessing that he would probably have some very like moving, maybe not moving isn't the right words, but like he'd have some very powerful things, I think, to say about the fact that, he does know he dodged a bullet and he is fortunate to be alive. He has done a good job throughout his career, his young career, of separating like life stuff and what's important in life from the football side of things. And it's an unfortunate way if this is how his career is going to end. But you're right, like him still being able to walk, him still being alive, like that stuff takes precedent. And I'm guessing that he would have some pretty, some pretty passionate words about the fact that like this isn't the end of the world for him. He can still go find success somewhere, probably around football if he wants to. And it sounds like he's at least going to try to do that.
Yeah, and Coach Tarver talked about it on Cleveland Browns Daily the other day when the rookies came in and Schlesinger and all those guys were in there. The one guy in there coaching them up was JOK, and like he was in the meetings, and he was still a part of it and still doing it. That obviously speaks to the person that he is. It's just hard, man. You think back to that play, that game, right? Just got hit by Derrick Henry, the biggest running back like ever, in the wrong place. He didn't have his head down. He was like his eyes are up. It's just Henry caught him right below the chin, man, and like for all intents and purposes, like broke his neck. Like that's the reality of the situation, and it's just really sad for him. But like you said, if there's one guy who's going to come out smelling like a rose and trying to find something positive, it's JOK. And
for sure,
if Spence, if he wants to come join the show, I mean, we
I don't know if we can pay him what he wants, but I'd love to have him on without question. It's obviously most unfortunate for JOK and his future. Great that he's healthy, but it's also disappointing on some level for Andrew Berry in the sense that this is consensusly the one pick that we can say he knocked out of the park. This is one guy that he got. I mean, this is the one guy that he got absolutely positively right. You could throw a few other names in there in terms of like, well, we think he got this guy right. Grant Delpit comes to mind. There's a few others, right? But this is the one that like is his best consensus player that he has selected. And now that guy's not there. So it makes his draft classes look even worse. This one was out of his hands, so it's not something you can necessarily blame him for, obviously. Now, along those lines, though, they did sort of draft his replacement in Carson Schlesinger. And I'm just going to say, Anthony, Andrew Berry said on draft night after they took him that they would have taken him if JOK was fully healthy. He made it very clear that, like, that had nothing to do with, like, their feelings about taking Carson at that pick. I'm calling BS on that. I just can't believe like this because this only came down 3 weeks later after the draft, 2 weeks later, really after the draft. I have to assume that they knew on some level that this was coming when they went into the draft that weekend, understanding like, hey, in a couple weeks, like we might have to rule him out for the season. This is probably the direction this is going. I don't think this just like sprung up on them and they were like, oh, well, good thing we drafted a linebacker, huh? Look at that. Like, no, I think they knew. I think they drafted Carson Schlesinger for that reason. And whether or not JOK can ever play again or not, like they now sort of set themselves up to at least find somebody that they think can play at a comparable level at that position.
Yeah, I think two things can be true. I think that there was an element of Andrew Berry like shying away from this truth that was released, but also Schlesinger is a freaking ball player, right? This is a guy who can go. And the reason they took him at 33, like think about it, like, hey, they knew at 36 that they were going to have one of the two Ohio State running backs there, right? It was either going to be Quinshon or Travion, but they didn't think that Schlesinger was going to make it to 36. They could have very easily flipped it if they were like, hey, we don't know if Quinshon or Travion are going to be there, and maybe Schlesinger's there. No, they knew that at 34 or 35 that Schlesinger was going to go, so they had to take him there at 33. Yeah. They didn't like reach for him. This Carson Schlesinger guy is unbelievable, totally worth the pick. But also, I definitely agree with you that hey, they knew that they were going to have to be replacing linebacker, so you might as well go get the best one available in the draft.
Well, and if you look at the history of how they've addressed that position in the past, it's rarely through the draft. So I just have to believe that like they saw an opportunity, they knew what the situation was, and they said, let's go get this guy. Yeah. Speaking of Carson Schlesinger, he was one of the rookies obviously participating in rookie minicamp over the weekend, among many others, a bunch of undrafted guys, but of course the class of 7 guys that they drafted were the ones stealing the headlines in the show. I can speak to day one. I was not there, obviously, for day 2, and I know there were some things that sort of made their rounds on social media. Some good, some bad, both on and off the field. So, yeah. But regardless,
if you know, you know.
If you know, you know exactly. But regardless, like my biggest observations, Megs, were well, I don't know. Where do we want to start with this?
I want you to say who's better. I want you to say it.
You want me to do the quarterback thing.
Claim. Who is it, Shedeur or Dillon?
So I'm gonna be honest. Day one, it was hard to like decipher. Like, well, he was better than him. Like, yeah, there was the obvious things that everyone's talked about. Shedeur has some wobbly passes. If you want to make that the reason why he had a worse day, then I guess you make that the reason he had a worse day. the other big complaint about Shedeur, when he gets, when there's pressure, sometimes he drops back a little too far. There was a couple plays where he did that, and I noticed that about his play, and that is something I'm assuming they're going to start to coach out of him. Listen, like at this rookie minicamp, you just kind of got like parts and pieces out there. He's coming off of a year where his offensive line wasn't very good. Once you have a true NFL offensive line in front of you, you should be able to step up in the pocket and not have to do that anymore. So I'm guessing they'll coach that out of him. I thought Dillon Gabriel really has the stronger arm of the two. I think that's well documented. He could really zip it. He was throwing some really nice passes into some tight windows. Zip it's back. But Shedeur also had some really pinpoint accurate throws, which again, I'm not surprised by that because that is the book on him. And that is what I saw when I watched this tape was like, he can make all the throws pretty accurately. And some of them, like the ones along the sideline for him are really, really good. Mm-hmm. So day one, from my perspective, like, I don't know that I walked away feeling like either one of them was like better than the other. I think people try to put stock in like, Dillon Gabriel went first, so he's ahead of him in the race and all these different things. But I just kind of was trying to just get a look at them in person for the first time and get like a good feel of like who they are and what they're kind of bringing to the table and how their technique looks and see things that they might be coached up on throughout this process as they get acclimated to the NFL. So that was more so my stance. But it felt like, I don't know, like what was the consensus walking away from the weekend? Did it seem like people thought Shedeur was better than Gabriel?
So it's funny. I think Dillon Gabriel's got a tough draw here because everywhere he goes, like the story is Shedeur Sanders. Every single place, everywhere, every how. I would caution fans this, and I know that this is, I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth here because as a fan, you want the answer, right? We want to know, right? Yeah. Like, oh, Shedeur was 10 of 11 in practice, and Dillon Gabriel was 9 for 10 or 9 for 11, and one through this. I saw something really good today. Jake Burns put it out on Brown's media here. If you're watching this show, you've definitely come across a Jake Burns post before, but he's like, be very cautious of what you hear and see about, from camp, because a lot of times you have no idea what the intent of the period, the drill period is. And that's very true. Like there's a lot of times where, hey, if you have a run play action period, right, a lot of those plays are going to be dialed up to take shots downfield. Well, if Dillon gets the first 4 in that set and Shedeur gets the first 4 in the straight drop back set, you're going to have different goals, different ideas, different things in mind that these coaches want these quarterbacks to work on. So it's really hard to determine stuff based off of, hey, I saw Shedeur drop back off play action, step up and throw a 60-yard touchdown. Yeah, that was sweet, man. That was really cool. Dillon may have not gotten that play, so it's like you got to be really cautious about what you see. What I took away just from the quarterback eyes, the mind that I approached this stuff at, is I think that both of these guys have a little bit to them. I think that they both are going to be successful in the same way, right? Where they have to be very accurate. They have to be very efficient. They can't just drop back and rely on their God-given abilities like a Patrick Mahomes. But if they're in a great structure and they're doing the right things and they're on time and on target, they're going to be very successful, i.e. Joe Flacco in 2023, right? I think both of those guys have this to them. I'm really encouraged what I see out of Dillon Gabriel when he steps up in the pocket and he just turns and rips one. I think that's awesome. And when Shedeur, like you said, the touch on Shedeur is very evident. He's got great accuracy. And that's one thing that really stood out to me, whether he was throwing to, well, they were all thrown to undrafted rookies. And they didn't really have the name brand receiver, so they had to be very accurate. And I think they were both of them were that last week. So I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think that's probably my biggest feeling was like, oh, they look good in this setting, but it's also a setting you have to remember, along with what you said about what Jake Burns brought up. Like, it's also a setting where these guys are playing against undrafted rookies. Like most of these guys aren't making NFL rosters.
They are the best players on that field. Like those two,
right.
Those two are the best football players on that field.
That's easier to be when you're going up against guys that probably aren't going to make NFL rosters, right? Like you're still kind of going up against regular college players, and that's not necessarily I'm not trying to knock those players, but like let's just be honest. Like let's call a spade here. Most of those, they only signed a couple guys off the rookie minicamp roster to the active roster. So it is what it is. So I was taking that setting for what it was, which is this is the first time that these players, quarterbacks and otherwise, are getting a taste for what an NFL practice is like. Yeah. They're getting out there. They're going through the playbook, seeing what they picked up already. They are, going through drills, kind of getting a taste of like, here's what it's going to be like for you on a day-to-day basis. You're doing some different settings and structures in terms of like the drills you're doing and different things you're looking for, whether it's red zone, whether it's whatever, 2-minute, like there's all those different things, but it's their first time doing that. They spent the last, 4 months largely training for the draft. That's a different kind of preparation than what this is. So I'm not going to sit there on like day 1 of rookie minicamp, day 2 of rookie minicamp, just rookie minicamp in general, and try to espouse like these grand statements and finite, finite information on like who's ahead of who, which is why I hate like, and this is on us in the media. Like I'm never going to be the guy who's standing there after a practice being like, so Kevin, I counted the reps. Why did this guy get 3 more than this guy? Which was like some of the questions he was getting asked. And I was like, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. It does not matter during rookie minicamp who's getting more reps, who's getting less reps. Like, I get it if it was like Shedeur was taking number 2 overall or something, and it was like, well, this guy's our franchise. That now he's your franchise quarterback. So yeah, he better be taking most of the reps. But in the grand scheme of things, it was like some of these nonsensical questions where it's like, guys, it's rookie minicamp. Like, let's just keep it in perspective here of like where we're at, what we're doing, what's going on. And that was kind of my overall thought on the quarterback situation from that weekend.
Yeah, I think you hit on it a lot. Be careful with what you read, what you see out there. Also, like those two, the best clip of the weekend was Tommy Reese. And then they were trying to coach up him stepping up, Shedeur stepping up in the pocket. He goes, you see Myles Garrett walk around without a shirt on, like that is who is going to be tackling you. You better step your ass up in the pocket and don't drift because you'll have a short NFL career. Yeah,
I saw that video. That was a good one. There was a couple other good videos that were out there as well. On the quarterback part specifically, I'll say this too. The Browns don't have to know who their quarterback is right now. I know we wish they did. And again, if they had drafted somebody in the first round, it's different. Now that guy should be your starting quarterback. Yes. But they've called this thing an open competition. They got 4 guys who are all going to compete for it. They don't need to know on the middle of May who their starting quarterback is right now in a situation that's an open competition. So just keep that in mind as well. But speaking of like fun videos that popped up from rookie minicamp, I was going to bring up too. I know I shared one. Deuce Staley was already pushing buttons when it comes to Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. They were doing some drills together, and he was telling Dylan like, yeah, I heard Quinshon say he's going to beat you in this drill. Like he was like trying to get him like fired up, and it was fun to see like at the end of the drill those two like dap each other up. Yeah. And so it was kind of the early stages of this relationship between the two as they sort of become this new dynamic duo in the backfield that I think is pretty cool. Just a couple other quick notes I'll throw at you, Megs, and then you can react. Carson Schwessinger, you can tell he's got that ranginess to him. Again, setting with a bunch of guys that were undrafted, so it's hard to like really know, but I think he's going to bring a lot to the table in that regard, and I think he's going to be special. I think fans are going to love him because of his story. He is a classic like gets Cleveland story. Walk-on kid, earned a scholarship, taken in the second round of the draft, like first pick. Like that is a classic Cleveland like gets Cleveland guy right there. I didn't watch as much as I wanted to, and I would have on day 2 as much Harold Fannin as I should have. But the one thing I noticed about Harold Fannin is like he just looks like a dude. Again, a bunch of rookies that aren't going to be on NFL teams around him, but he looks like he's going to be a dude. And then the last thing I was going to say was Mason Graham has an elite get off, like elite. I was watching him in these drills, and it was like, oh my god, like the second, and they were doing this one drill where like they had to like weave their way through like these bags, like in a figure 8 pattern almost. And all these other guys were like, stumbling over it and like bumping into it. And he was like so smooth, like navigating the turns. It was, he's going to be a special player, I think, on the defensive front. But that's
Spencer, he threw up. I thought we have to trade him, right?
Oh my God. That was the dumb, like, talk about narratives that form out of things like rookie minicamp or whatever that mean absolutely nothing. Him throwing up had nothing to do with like, oh, he's overweight, get him in. Like, no, it was just because he ate too many chicken nuggets or whatever it was that day, or he was just sick. I think it's more. People were missing the point. He threw up and then he stayed out there and kept practicing. You know how many guys throw up during practice? I've seen guys throw up during practice. Isn't there a video of there was a video of somebody in an NFL huddle throwing up at one point.
Just like, throw up on the ground. And then
does that mean he's out of shape and he shouldn't play? Like, no, he's out there starting for an NFL team. So it's not that big of a deal. But,
Quinshon and Dylan, I think are going to be awesome. It's amazing we have them both for on rookie contracts. I think it's going to be great as they pair up. The second is Harold Fannin. Obviously, you touched on him. I think he's going to be awesome. The third, I got to give a shout out, one undrafted free agent guy who got an opportunity to stick with the team at least a little bit longer. Luke Floria, Kent State guy, went to Menor, played 5 years at Kent State. I played with his older brother at John Carroll's, really cool.
I was going to say, I was going to ask you if they were related actually, because that name, I was like, hold on a second. There's a John Carroll connection here, I think, and there is.
There is, yeah. So I play with his older brother Jake at John Carroll. I didn't know Luke. I don't know Luke. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do. I'm just really excited for him. He's a great kid, great family, and it's going to be awesome. So he's in a couple of the clips you see. Shedeur threw a touchdown to him in the right corner on like a little fade ball where he caught it, toe tapped, and then Dylan hit him up the sidelines off of play action, a perfectly layered ball. Just really excited for Luke. Just some cool stuff.
His brother was on
cool
the
opportunity
team.
for a Cleveland kid, dude. He had a clip afterwards. Someone was asking. It was on something. He's like, yeah, I've probably watched every single Browns game for the last 20 years, and now I'm wearing a Browns helmet. Like, how cool?
Yeah,
it's
pretty
that
cool. That is pretty
do?
cool. Was his brother on the team that you guys beat him out with?
No, he was not. So so Jake transferred in. Jake's my age, but he was he had transferred in. I forget where he went before Carroll, but he came in later on in our careers at least, and then he stuck around a little bit after. But he took over the reins after I passed the reins off to Jake. And he took them from me.
So with that said, we talked about the quarterbacks a ton, and I like the hysteria part of this. I think comes from just like the off the field, and how they're going to handle the media and all these different things. And I'll tell you, I thought that one of the most what's the word I'm looking for? I thought basically what I'm trying to say is I thought what Dylan Gabriel said in relation to being scrutinized and comparing him to Shedeur and all this different stuff, and he had that quote about the more questions I get asked like that, the more it just kind of divides us as a team in a locker room. I thought that was a pretty good line. I think some people thought it was like him trying to take a shot at the media, like you're going to ask us these questions and you're just trying to be negative and divide us. But I actually thought like that's a really mature answer to that question. Is like, hey, listen, like I understand the situation. Like we're going to compete, and whoever comes out on top, I guess, at least from a standpoint of like who's higher on the depth chart that comes out on top. But like we're teammates. I'm not going to sit here and like say I'm not going to. He basically was saying he wasn't going to feed into any of the stuff around him. And I've been like, listen, people have asked me, this is a classic. The Shedeur Sanders fanfare is like a classic situation for the Browns where they draft somebody high profile and then they can't handle everything that comes with it. And I don't believe that though. Like I feel like this team is actually pretty well equipped to handle it. Maybe it's the regime. Like Kevin Stefanski just doesn't get bothered by really anything. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, this organization welcomed in Deshaun Watson. And I guess you could say they handled that poorly because he's just been bad. They haven't handled everything great. But like the outside stuff, I don't necessarily think has been a problem for the team as much as it has been a problem for Deshaun, but I don't know that it's been like a problem for the team or Stefanski or whatever to just kind of navigate those things. And so I think the same thing applies to Shedeur. And I also don't think like what is the distraction that people are talking about? Dude. Like he's a good kid. He's done anything that people are calling a distraction. It's like, it's not like he's gotten in trouble off the field, at least not yet. Like he hasn't done anything bad. It's just because he's associated with Deion Sanders, who says some controversial things, that it seems like people think it's going to be this massive distraction. I just don't see that.
And it's truthfully like Deion just rubs people the wrong way because he's like a huge personality, right? Like he has, and for all accounts, he does things differently for Colorado, but he doesn't, none of his players are in trouble. Travis Hunter's like helping a lady put her luggage above the seat on a plane. Like he's got guys practicing their business presentations in front of their team. Like all this stuff is just because people have an opinion and they're just not, they don't agree with some of it, but which is whatever. The thing I've taken away from Shedeur is that like he's nothing, and this is not shocking, but this is not common for a young person like this, a 21-year-old. Like nothing he says is by accident. Like he's very calculated. Like you see that from like a wily vet. Like even the other night he drops like you can tell me I'm stupid, but the Cavs are down 41 points and he drops a tweet right at halftime, just a picture of the team. Like that it's not like accidental. Like he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. Everything is calculated from that perspective. And he's not done anything. He's not going to do anything wrong. Like, he's just says the right things, does the right things. And if he's about what he says, like if he's about the team, you're going to see it. You can't be a fraud. You can't be a phony in that, especially when these vets get into the room, because they'll see right through it. And, I guess time's going to tell, but like, you got no reason to dislike the kid. He hasn't done anything wrong.
I think that people just dislike him because of his dad. I think that people dislike him because of some of the things that were said about him during the pre-draft process, that he came off too brash and arrogant. And I do think there's a little bit of arrogance there. I can understand that. Yeah. But I don't know that it's like so blatant that it needs to be like, and the other reason people don't like him is because of nepotism, which, by the way, the quarterback that everybody's clamoring that they want next year is also like the byproduct of nepotism, is he not? Everyone just assumes Arch Manning is like the next coming of Peyton because he's a Manning, and there's nepotism involved there too. So like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't get it. I don't think it's going to be this major distraction. And I also think too, he has said all the right things. As much as Dylan's quote was a good one, he has said all the right things about, like, it's not about proving people wrong. It's about proving myself right. And, he talked about how the stuff that happened pre-draft and on draft night, like, that's all in the past now. He's not dwelling on it. He's on it just trying to get better at football and play at a high level. Like, I think he is a pretty mature person. I think people just don't see that because they have whatever, they're dug in on whatever their opinion is of Shedeur.
Hey, how about the one quote he had? I forget the question, but somebody asked him something, and his response in the media was like, you guys see my signing bonus? It was something like, are you going to buy the vets something?
Yeah, he was asked if he was going to buy the number 2 from DeAndre Carter, who they signed this offseason.
Like, you see my signing bonus?
And he said no. And then because he said my signing bonus isn't that big. So he said not that big yet. So not
just a funny thing. Yeah. One question I had for you, and this is maybe digging too deep, but is there a little Baker Mayfield to Dylan Gabriel? Like, I don't know if it's just because he's kind of got similar traits, where he's got a strong arm and he's kind of a similar stature, but like, even when he talks a little bit, I get a little, ooh, I've heard this before.
I don't know if I picked up on that, but now that you said it, I'm sure I will like notice it more. So as we talk to him more and more, I will now start to see that. I think from like a football standpoint, yes, because he's already been comped to Baker because of his size, even though Baker was even taller than him. But yeah, like there's going to be a little bit of that, I think. But in terms of like the way he talks, I have to sort of see him and hear him more first before I say that. But I think that's going to naturally happen because everybody just goes back to Baker in this town. Mm-hmm. It's the last good quarterback that they had. So with that said, Megs, I know there was a number of things you wanted to touch on around the AFC North before we get to talking about the schedule and all that comes with that. But like the Bengals are going through some stuff right now. Steelers are still just kind of waiting for Aaron Rodgers, which, by the way, we can say that the Browns have a better quarterback room than the Steelers right now, I think. Like, their quarterback room is Will Howard, and unless you think Will Howard's going to be, amazing, it's Will Howard and Mason Rudolph, and that's it. And the Browns at least have, like, some stability in theirs. And then, obviously, the Ravens kind of dealing with the aftermath of the Justin Tucker situation.
Yeah, well, you got that. And then also in Pittsburgh, like, one thing that happened last week was George Pickens.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about George Pickens. That's right.
For a third rounder, like, whatever. I thought it could have been – I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know anything. Maybe I know something. But lining George Pickens up on one side and DK Metcalf on the other side would make me excited to be either one of those guys, because you can't double team both of them. So guess what? There's going to be open.
Yeah, but it seems like Pickens has like a little Deontay Johnson in him, where he's like, it's all about me. And so I don't know.
I agree. But anyway, I thought it was actually, if he's that much of a locker room like problem, getting a third round pick for him is actually a pretty good deal, I think, for Pittsburgh. I
think Pittsburgh had a good draft. But like they had a very Pittsburgh draft in general. That they got my other favorite running back in this class, and Caleb Johnson. Like he could be somebody that like terrorizes the Browns for years to come potentially. I do like the Aaron Rodgers thing is just fascinating because it's like they're just kind of sitting waiting. It's weird to see the Steelers kind of be like desperate for a quarterback in that way. That's not really their MO. But like everything points to him signing there at some point. I mean, him and DK were working out together. Pickens wasn't part of that workout, so it makes sense that they would trade him. So I don't know. Like it feels like that's going to happen, but in the meantime, I think Browns fans are enjoying the fact that like they can kind of laugh at the Steelers right now because they have nobody at quarterback, and the Browns maybe have a better situation.
Maybe, yeah. And I was just about to say, even if Rodgers signs, like where does that put them?
I think surprisingly, people are higher on Rodgers than I am. Like, people are looking at like his last 6 or 7 games, and they're like, "Oh, he looked really good in those games." And I was like, "Yeah," but then go back and like see when he played the Bills, like he had no answers. Like when he playing good teams, he just wasn't the same guy. Like I get it. I listen. He'll be an upgrade. I do think on some level, like he has more in the tank in terms of like throwing the football than like Russell Wilson did. But at the same time, like I don't know if I'm expecting him to take the Steelers on some magical run deep into the playoffs. It feels like it could just end the same way it always ends, which is, hey, we made the playoffs, eked in, and then we lose in the first round.
Yeah, because they have a good defense and all that other stuff. I don't know. It'll be interesting, and I think that we'll know here soon. I was seeing some stuff yesterday that it might get released today or tomorrow. Everyone's going to speculate, but it feels like you're right. Like it's going to be Rodgers in Pittsburgh, and if there's anybody who's going to get it out of them, it's Coach Mike Tomlin there. So that'll be a bummer. The one down in Cincinnati is interesting. Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, you want to talk about distractions. That feels like a distraction.
Trey Hendrickson shows up today to camp in a golf outfit, just in polo and in pants, and basically said, "Yeah, I'm not playing on this deal."
Yeah,
and he's all pissed off because I guess Zach Taylor texted him about a month ago saying if he doesn't show up, he's going to be fined. And he's like, "Dude, you're going to say this after I can't get in touch with the front office? Like, what is going on here? Why can't we just come to the table, figure out an agreement, and move it right along?" But it seems like that situation has soured quickly.
Do you think that the Bengals handled their situation of like who to pay correctly?
No.
Like Jamar Chase, you have to pay. I get
you
Jamar
have
Chase.
To pay Jamar. But if you are going to sit here and tell me that Joe Burrow is the second coming of Christ and he's the best thing that's ever touched a football field, he doesn't need 2 of the best wide receivers in football. Matter of fact, he needs a better defense because last year you score 35 points a game and you go 9-8, right? Like, yeah, you got to sacrifice a little bit to improve a defense. And if you have the quarterback, he said it, right? He said it 2 years ago. The window's always open as long as he's putting the helmet on, right?
My feeling at the time at the combine was like, why not just invest in wide receiver in the draft and like sort of start fresh there instead of having to like pay all this money in one position and then pay Trey Hendrickson so that you have the guy who was the sack king last year back on the roster. And so I don't know that they're in a weird spot. I think their defense is still going to be pretty bad. And it's going to be once again on Joe Burrow to kind of like lift this team up and guys like Higgins to stay healthy, which has been an issue for him in his early career. So
yeah, if it were me, and obviously I'm not a GM, but I would have said, "I'm sorry, T, you're an awesome player. Guess what? We're going to trade you for a boatload of stuff. We're going to get a bunch of picks or a player, and we're going to free up some space. And guess what, Joe? I'm sorry, he's your boy, but we're going to go invest in this defense to make sure it's holding teams under 20 points a game so that we go 13-4 and you're chilling going into the playoffs, have a first seed, and we're lined up for the Super Bowl." But what do I know?
It feels like that's what this came down to, by the way, was Joe Burrow sort of holding their feet to the fire, and they were like, we're not going to piss off our quarterback, so I guess we're signing T2, and that's how it kind of went. But yeah, it's an interesting strategy. We'll see if it works out for the Bengals.
We'll come back to this clip when T. Higgins has like 7 catches for 197 yards.
Yeah, seriously, and he just torches them. Or he has like he's like top 5 in receiving next year and just goes absolutely bonkers. Yeah, we'll be laughing about that one. Yeah. Final thing, Megs, any expectations? I mean, we know who they're playing. It's just a matter of when and where. Not when and where, but it's a matter of when. Any expectations, any wishes that you have for the Browns' schedule coming out on Wednesday night that you want to see?
Germ, we're going to we're going to London, right? We're the Browns.
I doubt it. I already have a family thing going on that weekend that they purposely.
So I'm going to London. You have to stay.
They purposely planned it around the fact that I probably would be around because I don't think we're going to London.
I'm going to London. It's what it is. Brennan, somebody hit Brennan up. Tell him, tweet at him.
I've been to London, honestly. So
hashtag send Megs to London.
Eat your heart out.
Gotta be.
Eat your heart out, I guess.
The schedule release is fun. We know our opponents.
Can I be honest though? It feels like it's gotten too.
It's too much.
They've taken it too far.
It's too much.
It was fun when it was just like each team releases it and we all get to know. Now it's like you find out one game last week, and then you find out another game on Monday, and then you find out the international games on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday they're gonna give you like 10 teaser games of like, oh, these are all rematches from the play. Like they just draw it out. And I know they do it because they know people are watching, but it's the goofiest thing because we know who all the opponents are and we know where they're happening, home and away and all those things. It's just a matter of like the dates and people can start planning their trips and all that. So I get why it's exciting, But I just hate that they've made it such this drawn out thing at this point. Like
Sure,
just show me the schedule and we can talk about it.
They're releasing games on the Today Show, on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
We're like, wait a second. Like,
what the hell is going on?
Hold on. Let's pull back. Truth be told, I'm just going to watch the Chargers. I'm going to watch the Chargers video that they have, and that's about it. Because it doesn't.
It's good every time.
Yeah, it's good every time. But yeah, I don't really care that much.
My wish list things were kind of like goofy. My number one is do not put the Browns on Christmas. Come on, man. Like the NFL tries to eat every day in my life, up with something football. Just give me a day that I can actually spend some time of important time of year with my family, please.
Yeah.
So I'm out on that. I'm always going to be out on that. I will never want to see this team play on Christmas Day. Luckily, they're not very good. They're probably not going to be very good this year in the eyes of the NFL, so they probably won't play on Christmas Day. So that's the good news. I also said I selfishly would love if they played the Patriots in September. So that I can be in Boston and maybe catch a Red Sox game in September. That would be nice.
We have an undercover here.
A guy can dream. A guy can dream.
This guy and his Boston sports.
I don't cheer for any. No, do not do this to me because I don't cheer for all Boston sports. It's just one team.
I want that game selfishly. Okay, this turned into John Carroll podcast for the day, but my buddy coaches for the Patriots, so that's the one that I want to try to get out to see, because obviously do some stuff for Ohio State. Travion Henderson's there. My buddy coaches for him, Mike Vrabel, Northeast Ohio guy, obviously Browns last year. So that's the one where it's put that at a reasonable spot, so maybe we can make it all work, but.
Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the only other thing I said was I want to see the Steelers as one of the last two games of the season, week 17, 18, like they always do division games at that time of year. Mostly because by then we could be talking about Shedeur playing or Dylan Gabriel playing against the Steelers, which would be that's always a big litmus test. And honestly, for even the Steelers, you could see maybe a Will Howard matchup against Dylan Gabriel, rematch of the Rose Bowl, or a Will Howard against Shedeur Sanders. That would kind of be a fun one if we get to that point. So that's my one wish, I think, for a division sort of setup. But yes. Also,
I want the Bills game to be early enough where that regardless it's going to be decent weather, because those two fan bases when they fly.
Oh yeah, the Muni lot's going to be insane. A lot of broken tables.
Dude, the last one was that Browns fans will remember. It was the game that got snowed out in Orchard Park, and they had to play it in Detroit.
That's right.
Jacoby Brissett and all those guys, and that's always one where it's these two fan bases are it's brother. They're like brothers and family, right? Where you get together.
Are we going to be doing Haley Steinfeld watch the same way we did with Taylor Swift? Is she coming to the stadium?
Oh shit! I mean, I'll be doing that.
Megs is going to be waiting downstairs, looking for her every second. At the entrance where all the celebrities show up. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy the schedule release. I'm sure we'll have some reaction to it with you here with Cleveland Browns on SI. We appreciate you hanging out with us and talking Cleveland Browns. Be sure to hang out at the channel here, the YouTube channel, where you can find more content like this and obviously press conferences and stuff from rookie minicamp last week. We'll have more for you on other days where we're out there in terms of availability for the Browns and covering different things. So stay tuned for that. You can also check out all of our written content over at si.com/NFL/Browns. Until next time, take it easy, Browns fans, and keep on following along with all things Cleveland Browns with the Cleveland Browns on SI.